The bedroom window was open. Grace, who was 7 years old, lay in bed listening to the sounds of the night outside. She was eagerly waiting for her mother to come and kiss her goodnight and wish her sweet dreams, but her mother had not yet returned. Grace assumed that her mother thought she was already asleep and went to her parents' room, but they were not there. Grace decided that her parents were in the kitchen, and she cautiously walked down the creaky stairs. The kitchen doors were closed, but there were sounds through the gap. Her mother was crying, and her father was trying to comfort her. When Grace got closer, she heard the parents talking quietly, probably so as not to wake Grace. "John, I don't have much time left. The doctors are giving me a poor prognosis. The tumor is growing and even chemotherapy has not stopped the growth. Dr. Smith suggests I decide to have surgery, but the tumor is in such a location that any misstep could result in me being bedridden. I'd rather die standing up than be bedridden. My heart breaks with pain for you and our beloved little girl, for she is still so little," Mom said. Daddy sat hunched in his chair and was silent. Grace was stunned by what she heard. "No, my mom is not going to die. I have to save her," Grace thought. Waking up early in the morning, Grace took her favorite toy, Baloo the bear, and went to the hospital while her parents slept. Approaching the door marked Dr. Bruce Smith, the girl walked determinedly inside. The doctor sat at his desk, absorbed in reading medical records. "Doctor, hello, can I see you for a minute?" Grace said. "Hello, of course, come in. Who are you here with? Where are your parents?" The doctor replied. "I came alone. Please listen to me, and then he'll leave," Grace begged. The determination of the little girl really surprised the doctor. Tears welled up in her big eyes as she looked at him pleadingly. "All right, I'll listen to you," the doctor said. "Tonight I happened to overhear my parents talking. My mother is very sick, and it seems that she doesn't have much time left. Please help her. I am willing to give you my favorite bear if you save my mom," said Grace with tears in her eyes. "What's your mom's name?" asked the doctor. "Agatha Johnson," Grace replied. "Agatha Johnson will be fine. I'll do everything I can. Now wipe your tears, take your toy and run home or your parents will be worried," said the doctor. "Thank you. You are the best doctor, and I leave the bear to you. I already talked to Baloo and he agreed to stay with you," Grace said, smiling through her tears. The doctor smiled back, called a nurse, and asked her to take the girl home. All the next day, Dr. Smith spent long hours studying Agatha Johnson's medical records and consulting with colleagues. He decided to perform the surgery, even though it was extremely risky. But after talking to the girl, the doctor was confident in his abilities. During the surgery, Grace waited in the hallway with her father. When the operating room doors opened, Dr. Smith came out with a tired smile. He reported that the surgery was a success. Grace's mother would face a long recovery, but the worst was over. The little girl hugged Dr. Smith, tears of joy streaming down her cheeks. "It's okay. Your mom is going to be okay. Promise me that you will help mommy with everything. Your and daddy's help that she needs right now," asked the doctor. "I promise," Grace answered him happily. A few months later, after a successful surgery, Dr. Smith was offered the opportunity to move to another city, and after weighing the pros and cons, he decided to move. He knew his skills and experience could help more people. But before he left, he decided to visit Grace and her mother. Agatha Johnson, already feeling much better, greeted him with a smile. "Dr. Smith, you not only saved my life, you brought me back to my family," she said. "Thank you for everything, your daughter. You know, Grace, I will always remember your courage and your determination. You showed that even the smallest of us can change the course of events. Stay as brave as you are, and I'll take your bear with me to remind me of you," Dr. Smith said as he looked at the girl. Grace, standing next to her, held her mother's hand and was beaming with happiness. Many years later, an elderly Bruce Smith was sitting in his kitchen, looking at an ad in the newspaper. It said he needed a medical professional to work with the girl. Bruce put the paper away, saying, "Why do they need a medical professional? Is she, sick? Why doesn't the ad say anything specific?" Bruce remained lonely. He had no children and his beloved wife had recently passed away. He loved her deeply and wasn't looking for a replacement. They dreamed of having children, but his wife was unable to get pregnant. After medical examinations, it turned out that the problem was in him. Bruce had a pathology. But his wife, as a faithful life partner, did not leave him in trouble and stayed by his side. And so they lived together, soul to soul, until the very end. Bruce went back to the ed. Maybe I should call. I'm tired of being alone in these walls. Even though I'm a pensioner, it's unlikely they'll hire me, but I'll give it a try, he said to himself. He picked up the phone and confidently dialed the number. A pleasant female voice answered him on the other side. "I'm from an ad. Do you still need a worker with a medical background?" Bruce asked. "Yes. Can you come to my house? I would like to talk to you," replied the girl. Having clarified the address, Bruce got ready and drove to the house at the appointed time. A young woman came out to him and led him into the house. "May I start first? Thank you. My name is Bruce. I'm an older man, and if you don't think I'm a good fit for you, it would be best if I left right now." Bruce began. "My name is Grace, and your age doesn't matter. But I'd like to know a little about you." "Can you tell me a little about yourself?" replied the landlady. "I was a successful surgeon at a local hospital. One day coming home from work, I saw a young man attacking a woman in the parking lot. He wanted to rob her. She was screaming loudly. Of course, I couldn't pass by. I ran up to him and grabbed him, and he pulled out a knife and slashed at my hands with it. He was apprehended, but unfortunately he cut the tendons in my arm, and I couldn't operate anymore. I continued my work as a consultant physician. A few months ago, I buried my beloved wife. The house became empty and I felt very lonely. And then I read the newspaper and saw your ad. If you hire me, I would love to work with your girl," Bruce said. "You see, Bruce, my little girl is 10 years old. She doesn't walk. She uses a wheelchair. 3 years ago, she and my husband were in a car accident. My husband died, and my daughter is still on her feet. She was examined. Her legs, back and head were fine. The doctors found no abnormalities. But, as the psychologist said, the girl's father died in front of her eyes, and it was a shock and stress for her. Specialists are working with her, but, unfortunately, without result. It is not yet known whether my girl will get back on her feet. The young woman who took care of my daughter quit her job, so I had to place a new ad. I would be happy to hire you, especially since you have a lot of medical and life experience. I think my little girl will be happy," the landlady told him. Bruce left the room and a smiling girl in a wheelchair came to meet him. "Hello, my name is Gina." "Oh, what's your name?" asked Gina. "My name is Bruce. I'll be your assistant," he replied. Thus passed their first acquaintance. The time in Gina's company passed quickly. The girl was very inquisitive. Bruce told her a lot of stories. He accompanied Gina everywhere. 2 individual lessons, gymnastics, swimming pool. They got used to each other very much. All the servants were surprised at how kindly they talked to each other. He became a real friend to her. So 3 months passed. Once came from another class, and having tea, the girl turned to Bruce. "Sir Bruce, can I call you grandfather? Your grandchildren will not mind." Gina asked. "Of course, my girl. I would be honored. And I don't have any grandchildren, so they won't mind," he replied with a smile. "Would you like me to tell you a story from my life that you haven't heard yet?" Bruce suggested. Gina nodded affirmatively, and Bruce began his story. "I was still young at the time, and living in another city. We were approached by a patient with severe headaches. We examined her. It turned out she had a tumor. It was located in such a place that it was very difficult to get close to it. One move, and she could have been disabled. So we put off the surgery. And so I'm sitting in my office, and a girl comes in. I really don't remember how old she was then, but you look a lot like her. She hands me her favorite toy and asks me to save her mom. She was brave and determined. I ask her who your mom is. She tells me. By her action, she spurred me into action. I told her, take your toy, it'll help your mom. And she said, no, you can keep the toy. I successfully performed the surgery on her mom. Then I got a job offer in another city. I moved away, and we stopped talking. I still have her toy. I look at it, and I think of that girl, and I admire her determination. Gina, you need to stop being afraid too, Bruce said. At that moment, the landlady came into the room and said, Dr. Bruce Smith, I was the girl who gave you your beloved bear Baloo. Oh, so you two know each other. Can I see this toy? Shouted Gina with excitement and joy. Of course you can. I'll even give it to you as a present, so you can be as brave and determined as your mom. Bruce answered her, and already turning to Grace he said, I never imagined we'd ever meet. Is your mom alive? Bruce asked. Yes, my mom is alive. She lives in the same town and I got married and moved here. My husband and I had a business. You already know he was killed in an accident. Now this business. I run alone and quite successfully. Can we go to your place now and look at this toy? Grace said. Bruce happily agreed, and Gina was delighted. Bruce brought Gina inside the house in her wheelchair. Grace stayed by the car for a moment. The toy was on top of the closet, so Bruce stood on a chair to reach it. Unfortunately, he stumbled and fell. Gina screamed in horror, jumped out of her wheelchair, and ran up to Bruce, shouting, Grandpa, are you okay? Are you alive? Upon hearing her daughter's scream, Grace rushed into the house. When the mother saw her daughter standing in front of Bruce instead of being in a wheelchair, she stopped and cried. Dr. Bruce Smith, this is the second time you've helped me, and I don't have my favorite toy anymore. So what am I going to get you? She said with a laugh. And all three of them laughed out loud. In honor of Gina's recovery, Grace threw a party to which she invited her family. Gina and Grace waited for the main guest. The doorbell rang and Gina ran to open the door. Standing on the doorstep was Bruce with a huge teddy bear. Gina grabbed Bruce's hand and led him over to the guests. I want to introduce you to the most important guest, a member of my mom and his family. My grandpa Bruce. He saved my grandmother a long time ago and helped me get back on my feet. I love him very much, Gina said. Bruce picked Gina up in his arms. Grace walked over to them, and they stood hugging together for a long time. There is always room for a miracle in life. You just have to believe and never give up.